Hi guys, salut tout le
Salut.
monde. I'm Maya and I'm French.
I'm Charlie, I'm American.
And in today's video, we're going to talk about phonetics and how it can help you improve your accent.
Alright, last year I started my master's in French at Middlebury and I took this French phonetics class. And it was hands down my favorite class ever that I ever took in the 10 years that I've been studying French. It really changed the way I speak the language, and it's just a lot of things I heard for years and years, but I could never explain it. I mean, it was a really good class. So I highly recommend anyone who's like very serious about speaking French and learning French, if you're studying in school and you get the chance, take a phonetics class. No matter how good you think you are, it's really going to help you.
So it's definitely like a science, and so you're gonna take over in this video. I'll be here pronouncing stuff and giving my input on things, but yeah, it's definitely like a science, and it's quite...
Yeah, it's a science.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very precise sounds in phonetics.
And rules and all that.
A bit about the class I took, it was 30 hours, and I kind of condensed it down into, 3 or 4 videos. I don't know how many videos we're going to do about this, but it's not enough to learn everything about phonetics, right? Because I know there's going to be someone who's got a PhD in phonetics and they're like, oh, you guys forgot this. It's just an overview. Everything we're doing is, Yeah, so this is an overview of what I learned in the class. It's like an intro into French phonetics, okay? Really quick, I got a lot of these exercises that we're going to go over. I got them from my teacher, Chiara Bonzinev. She was a great teacher. She works at the Sorbonne. So if you guys ever get a chance to study phonetics at the Sorbonne, I would really recommend you work with her. Also, we'll be working out of this book, and I really recommend that you check it out if you're interested in phonetics. We'll leave a link to where you can pick it up down in the description. So the first thing that we learned in phonetics was that le français, right? It's une langue syllabique. It's a syllabic language. And so when you're speaking French, you're actually speaking syllables. It's like not words anymore. It's like you're speaking the syllables, and these syllables have very precise sounds. The first thing I'll show you guys is how to cut up a word in syllables. Réaliser un découpage syllabique. So there are 4 ways you can cut up a word in French, right? Cut it up in syllables. The first example would be Paris. So we have 2 syllables, Paris. And it's like you end it after that A, and you take it from the R, and that's like the next syllable. Paris. Okay?
Paris. Ouais. Okay.
Yeah.
Paris.
Yeah. And then the next one would be grand-mère. So we have grand-mère. We have like the 2 M's. They're the same. It's the same letter. So they're going to stick together, and they're going to be part of the next syllable.
Grand-mère, c'est ça?
Yep. And the next one, when we have a word that has 2 letters that are different, right? 2 consonants that are different, we're going to separate them. Sorbonne. Sorbonne.
Okay. Sorbonne.
Yeah. And the last one, sometimes we have a word that starts with a syllable and it has 2 consonants after, like écrit.
Écrit.
Yeah, écrit.
So a syllable could also just be 1 letter, like é, cri. Okay.
And so if you saw a phrase like this, like il est à Rome, right? Like you can cut it up into syllables like that, like il est à Rome, right? And then so now you're not pronouncing words, you're pronouncing syllables.
Right.
Right.
So that's where the liaison comes up.
Yeah, we'll get to the liaisons in another video. Yeah, and so the idea is you can see a phrase or like, a few words that's difficult for someone to pronounce, and they cut it up into syllables like that, and it's so much easier to pronounce like that. So something else that my teacher used to say a lot was that the vowel, the pronounced vowel, was the noyau. It's like the essential part of
Is it like the heart?
Yeah, exactly. I think of it like that's the part that I'm going to stress. An example would be like the word chambre, chambre. A lot of times I hear French students, they say like chambre.
Oh yeah, chambre.
Yeah, and it's not. It's actually 1 syllable. So that E at the end of a word, it's not a syllable. Chambre. Or like prendre.
Chambre, prendre. Yeah, it's just 1 syllable. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So if we saw a word like petit and petite, even though there's an E at the end, it's still 2 syllables. Petit, petite. It's not like petite.
Ah ouais, petite. No,
yeah.
It's petit, petite.
So next we're going to talk about the accent, l'accentuation. So l'accentuation is it's a little bit long and it's the last syllable like in a group, right? So an example, before I used to say something like bonjour, bonjour, like when I go into a bakery, and I feel like sometimes they wouldn't understand me. They would like look at me kind of funny, even though I said it right. And it's because I didn't accentuate the last syllable. So it would be like bonjour, right? So we're going to say it a little bit longer, like bonjour. I mean, that was a little bit overkill, but...
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe that's why sometimes people feel that like they're not understood when they speak French.
Yeah.
It's more like in the accentuation and the intonation more than the pronunciation, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes together, but because our ear is trained to hear a sound or a vibe or a rhythm, we understand the word. It's interesting.
Yeah, like sometimes you pronounce something in English and it's like maybe a little bit off from how I usually hear it.
Right.
And I'm just completely lost sometimes.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
For example, bonjour. Yeah, really stress out the bonjour or bonjour. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny because the first time I told you this was like the first mind-blowing thing in phonetics. I was like, wow, that sounds so... I mean, I hear it all the time, but when I had someone explain it to me, it made so much more sense. Yeah. And I told you that, and you were like saying something like, non, mais c'est pas vrai. Enfin, moi, je parle pas comme ça.
Oh, yes, I guess we stress out a lot of things in the same sentence, not just one word. But...
Yeah, but you see how it's still like, in that thing I said, it's still the last syllable. Like, non, mais c'est pas vrai. Like, it's just a little bit longer.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of mind-blowing for me too, because it's my own language. I don't think about all of that all the time. So yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah, so if you had another word, you'd be like, bonjour, madame. Right?
Right.
Vous allez bien? And it's just like a little bit longer at the end. Okay, next we're going to talk about la continuité. So the continuousness. For example, if I speak English, right, and I cut every word like this, like an English speaker might understand me better, but in French it's like the opposite, right? Like if you cut up all of your words in a sentence, people get lost and they don't understand what you're saying. So it's like when you're speaking when you have a phrase, it's like a continuous flow of air, like for that phrase or like that group of words. Like one example would be Emma a eu une idée brillante.
Okay. Emma a eu une idée brillante.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of overkill here, but... Yeah. Say it again. Pronounce it again.
Emma a eu une idée brillante.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one gigantic word.
Yeah. But like when I show this to some of my private French students, they want to put a pause after Emma.
Ouais. Emma a eu une idée brillante. But you really have to... I mean, that's where liaison comes in, right? Emma a eu une idée brillante. It's really hard for me to say because that's not something we say very often. It's a specific sentence. Hugo aura 20 ans cette année.
Yeah. And that's in phonetics, we call that an enchaînement vocalique.
Okay.
Yeah. Hugo aura. Yeah, so that's an enchaînement vocalique because we have one word that ends with a vowel and the next word starts with a vowel. So Emma, like that's... Here
it's in 3 words.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what that is, the continuousness. I think of it like constant airflow, like in a group of words. Some more examples, like je suis allé au ciné. Je suis allé au ciné.
Je suis allé au ciné.
Yeah. This one's really interesting because it's the verb être. So the verbs être and avoir. The liaison is facultatif. It means that it's your choice if you want to.
If you want to say je suis allé au ciné. Yeah. In spoken French, I guess most of the time we just drop it. We don't say it.
Yeah,
je suis allé au ciné.
It depends who, because maybe a grandmother might say that.
Yeah, it depends on your economic background, where you grew up. It depends on many factors. For sure.
Like last night I heard your dad, he said something like on est allé, like he got the liaison.
Right, yeah.
But maybe sometimes he doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah. Next we have l'enchaînement consonantique. And so I think of that just like as a liaison obligatoire, like you're going to get that liaison. And technically it's not, it's an enchaînement. In phonetics I call it an enchaînement. But I tell a lot of my private students, just think of it like a liaison, that you're going to get all the time no matter what. So any word that ends with an E in French, you're going to get that liaison, okay? And that's when, you have a word, right, that ends with an E and the next word starts with a vowel, you're going to get that liaison. Also, the acronym CAREFUL, right? Any of these letters, if a word ends in any of these letters, it's going to get that enchaînement as well, okay?
Okay, let's go over some examples. La lampe est cassée. La lampe est cassée. So it's not la lampe est cassée. C'est la lampe est cassée.
Yeah, because it has an E at the end, so we're going to take that enchaînement from the P. Yeah.
Ton sac est blanc. Ton sac est blanc.
Yeah.
So it's not ton sac est blanc. Ton sac est blanc.
Yeah. So because it ends with one of those letters from the acronym CAREFUL, C, so we're going to take that liaison from the C.
Yeah, okay. Next is il est français. Il est français. So again, it's not il est français. C'est il est français.
Yeah. This example is really interesting because you'll see in our video about liaisons like why you get it, because it's a pronoun, and you know some of there's like some overlap too, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure there's some exceptions or things like that. Like
Les exceptions, l'exception.
yeah, like
L'exception, l'exception, l'exception.
right. French loves that. It's tricky. So let's see a longer sentence. Il chante en russe avec elle. Il chante en russe avec elle. Yeah. Il chante en russe avec elle.
Yeah.
Elle espère obtenir une augmentation.
Yeah, and this one's like a little bit lighter when you get that obtenir une.
Yeah, I wouldn't say obtenir une. It does it a little bit, like obtenir une. You have to, like, it's a softer R. But yeah, you don't have to overdo it too much.
A lot of these you probably don't have to overdo, but they're still there. And another thing that we learned is about the H aspiré. So in French, you don't pronounce the H, right? You don't. It's not like ha, hi, how are you? Like that doesn't exist in French. Okay. But for the liaison, sometimes we do the liaison with the H, and then sometimes we don't.
So we would say les hommes, and léal.
Yeah.
Léal.
So the reason why you say les hommes is if you look it up in the dictionary, it comes from either Latin or Greek. I mean, les hommes.
Here it's Latin.
It's obviously Latin. It's either going to have Latin or Greek origins. That's when you're going to get the liaison. That's why we're going to say les hommes.
Les hommes.
But for léal, you're not going to do that because it's actually from Germanic origins. It's not from Latin or Greek. And that's why they don't do it. And there are other words like les haricots that you're not going to do the liaison either.
Ouais, les haricots, c'est
Yeah.
vrai.
Of course, you can't look it up in the dictionary every time you want to say those words. So a lot of these you're just going to have to memorize.
Yeah, you can't just like know what origin the word is from or whatever, but after a while, after hearing words a lot, it will just sound more natural to say a certain way. Like the more you speak, the more you hear French, the more you listen to French.
Yeah.
That's how it's gonna work for you.
So we'll give you some examples.
Yeah. So, tu veux un hot dog? I mean, here it's clearly an English word, right?
It's obviously not French. Hot dog.
Tu veux un hot dog? Tu veux un hot dog? Elles ont entendu un hibou. Elles ont entendu un hibou. Un hibou. Yeah.
Un hibou.
Yeah, it's harder to pronounce, but that's how we say it. Un hibou. Or un hérisson. Un hérisson.
Well, that's it for this intro to French phonetics.
If you want to learn more, Charlie actually does an hour long, right?
Yeah.
Private lesson, private class, private lesson.
On this phonetic stuff. I go really deep into it and like make you practice and all
if you
that.
have any questions or some things are not really clear, you can contact us and he'll do it.
So we're going to be continuing this series. We're going to do at least 2 more. We're going to talk about liaisons like in the next video, and then we're going to talk about la chute, which is one of my favorite concepts in phonetics.
So if you're interested in that, we'll leave the links in the description. Also, you can check out our Instagram. We're really present over there. We share a bunch of things we like to watch in French. We select things really precisely, like where you hear people having conversations or interviews or things like that. And if you want to help out the project, StreetFrench.org, support us, you can check out our Patreon page. We have different perks, but I think my favorite is the one where we interact with our patrons on a private Facebook group chat. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can contact us there. Yeah, check out our Patreon page. You can help us if you want or if you can, or yeah, no pressure, of course.
So yeah, let us know if you have any questions down in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye bye. Salut.